Not hurting, my dear. Quite comfortable. No. Feeling very drowsy. Tuberculin comes from this creeping plant, Conodonton postum. Giving it quite slowly, you can see the response to electrical stimulation of the nerve, but that response will diminish very considerably. There are various types of curare which natives produced as arrow poisons, and tuberculin was a type which was in fact stored in tubes. So that's really where the word came from. Of course, it's a poison, tuberculin, because it paralyzes the muscles and stops the prey from breathing, so they die. But in anesthetic practice, of course, it can't be considered in any way to be a poison, because we can breathe for the patient when the patient has become fully paralyzed with the relaxant drug. The specific advantage it gives is that it enables us to produce muscular relaxation quite specifically without causing deep anesthesia. In the old days, you had to give ether in high concentrations for a long time, and the result of this was that at the end of the anesthetic, the patient was very deeply anesthetized, didn't wake up for a long time, and of course when they did wake up, they felt very sick. So the arrival of this group of drugs, the muscle relaxants, made an enormous difference. It revolutionized anesthesia completely.
I brought you another thing that the people in Suriname and Brazil used to treat fungal infections of the skin.
Oh, that's a varroa. It's strange that you'd find that used because I found...
Dr. Mark Plotkin. O Dr. Mark Plotkin e o professor Richard Schultz de Harvard são etnobotânicos. O professor devotou sua vida ao conhecimento das plantas da selva amazônica. Mark empenha-se em continuar seu trabalho.
Couldn't possibly. And when an Indian has a skin infection of fungal origin, he'll go out in the morning, strip off a piece of bark, paint it with that red resinous exudate, keep it on dry all day, and the next morning go out, and in 10 or 15 days you can see the infection go away. Now this might be just suppression, or it might be a cure, we don't know. But we have very little in our medicine against fungus infections of the skin. When you have a deep athlete's foot, you've got it.
A colleague of mine on a recent expedition to Venezuela went to work with an old medicine man who was famous for the use of a plant that had certain anticoagulant properties. When he got there, the medicine man had died, and the knowledge died with him. The problem is that every time one of these medicine men or shaman dies out, the knowledge is lost forever. It's as if a library has burned down. Once that knowledge is lost, there's no recovering it, and we pay a real price when these tribal societies lose their dependence on rainforest plants. I've been working with Schultes for over 14 years. I've apprenticed myself to him. He's the great white witch doctor to us ethnobotanists. But the fact is, we really need many more sorcerers apprentice working in the rainforests of the world to document this information. Well, this is a plant that I wanted to ask you about while we're on this topic. This is a cashew, which is, of course, cashews are native to the New World tropics.
The nut in the fruit of the cashew is a poison until it's boiled in oil. And it's very possible that it acts on this botfly larva, which I myself have had laid into my muscles, and you have to let it grow, and then the head comes out to get air, and then you put something like that, a poison, or else something else like rubber, which either kills or suffocates the larvae, and then you can squeeze it out.
But you always say you never had any adventures in the Amazon. You're talking about having worms eating your flesh, don't you think?
Well, that's not an adventure. In civilization, we have a lot of other things that you might get hit on the highway in Boston. Is that an adventure?
So you don't think the jungle is a dangerous place to work?
There are too many books on adventures of people that go down for 2 or 3 weeks and escape horrible deaths at every other page of the book they have to write.
No Brasil, a cidade de Belém fica na boca do rio Amazonas. Na universidade, a doutora Elaine Elizabetsky iniciou um projeto de pesquisa para extrair novas drogas das plantas.
Então, o melhor possível, a gente corta os custos do projeto. Se a gente corta os custos da fase de pesquisa e desenvolvimento de um projeto, tu acaba cortando o custo do produto final, que é o medicamento. Então, a possibilidade de desenvolver medicamentos de baixo custo a partir da informação popular é maior.
Numa ilha do estuário, Elaine está trabalhando com caboclos. De origem racial miscigenada, eles se fixaram na selva e aprenderam com os índios. A principal fonte de renda dos caboclos é o cultivo de plantas medicinais para serem vendidas nas cidades. Seu conhecimento está ajudando Elaine a desenvolver novos medicamentos comerciais.
We have already established 2 plant species as sources of new anti-convulsant drugs. These very same plants are traditionally used to control and prevent epileptic fits, and our work has confirmed their effectiveness. I see a very good chance of them being marketed. Many people could benefit from drugs produced from cultivated plants. Not just those who are sick, but farmers, boatmen, truck drivers, and by preserving the environment, the whole of the community.
Parte do mercado de ver o peso em Belém é toda dedicada às plantas medicinais.
Tá bom? Escuta, por exemplo, ó, isso aqui, e para dor de dente, o que é que tu tem? Como é que usa isso?
Em branco você pega um galho desse, quebra e agita bem na gengiva de dentro.
Posso quebrar outro?
Pode.
Esta planta tradicionalmente usada para dor de dente é um analgésico em potencial. Um dos muitos que a universidade está desenvolvendo comercialmente. Pode-se levar 30 anos, se preciso, examinar milhares de produtos químicos para se desenvolver uma droga compatível com os padrões ocidentais modernos. Elaine acredita que ao estudar aquelas plantas com quem as conhece, tempo e custos seriam reduzidos.
Bom, minha tia, tudo bem? We can find here medicines that were originally used by Indians in the forests. They assure us that have medicines for all kinds of diseases. Diabetes, headaches, flus, heart problems, diarrhea, everything. We can either look at those medicines without knowing what they are for, or we understand what they think about diseases, and then they teach us which plant is good for which disease. I'm pretty much convinced that if we can learn this knowledge and give it a modern scientific treatment, we can develop new important drugs.
Os índios caiapós do Brasil Central têm um nome para cada planta da selva e um uso específico para a maioria delas. Apesar de 40 anos de contato com a sociedade branca, os caiapós ainda são uma tribo de guerreiros, cujo respeito pela floresta e seus rituais permanece intacto. Beptopupi é um xamã de Gorotirê, o guardião da sabedoria das plantas e o centro do projeto etnobotânico.
Within the Kayapor medical system, there are two kinds of medicinal men. One kind is the true shaman. These shamans are capable of dealing with any kind of disease, physical disease and spiritual disease. Within the Kayapor project, we have informants of both kinds, and Beptopup is very famous within his own people as being a very powerful shaman.
Elaine se concentra nas plantas usadas na gravidez. Uma orquídea rara usada como contraceptivo e outras que garantem um bom trabalho de parto. Sua pesquisa sugere que os caiapós há muito tempo sabem como controlar o tamanho de sua população. A meia hora de Gorotirê, Beptopup tem sua própria farmácia da selva, um jardim de plantas medicinais.
Beptopup meniri wakam puji kra kekumne.
Meniri wakam puji kra kekumne. Me kra ke ja kumne. Me prinde aire ja kumne. Me kami yukuri me kute. Amim kra umoi na robaki. Nam tu me kra be atara kumne ne. Kam na ite kra umoi kene. Nim kra ku ni tu abatai kumne ne. Ne kamare na kai go kumne. Tamne ya pije mai ne. Me kra ke jana bakamare ai jiwani pa.
Oko puji bi kra ket
kumne na.
O projeto lutou pela valorização e reconhecimento da sabedoria indígena. Botucatu trabalhou com o etnobiólogo Daryl Posey durante 12 anos.
What we're studying is a systematic knowledge which has developed for thousands and thousands of years and which is very rich. And so, to me, it's the question of whether it's science or not is a completely moot point. It is indeed science. It is indeed a very complex one. I think what is interesting is to try to translate that science to what are our science and what are the questions which or the methods which we think are necessary to produce science. And that's what we're trying to do as ethnobiologists, is to try to